In 1985, the head of the computer engineering in London University, his name is Arthur Ellison, Faculty of Engineering, head of electrics and computer. He went for a seminar or a conference in Cairo in 1985, and he has done some research. He's done a paper about sleeping, and they measured the amount of brain activities while a person is asleep and while he's alive. Sorry, while he's awake and while he's asleep. And they compared them together. And he's done a paper about that. In 1985, there was a big conference in Cairo about scientific miracles in the Quran and Hadith. And he was invited there, and he came and he delivered this talk. This is his finding as somebody who doesn't believe in Islam or anything. And then he sat down and he listened to the rest of the contributors. And they were all eminent people, highly educated. He sat down and listened about evidence, scientific facts that exist in the Quran. We shared some of them before. And similarly also scientific facts that exist in the Hadith. And the man was really extremely interested. So after the conference, he would approach the speaker and he say, tell me a bit more about the subject matter here. Tell me a bit more about this. Tell me a bit more about this. And he would ask them questions, and they would obviously answer them. And at the end of the conference, he stood up in front of everybody. Englishman, head of a faculty of engineering in the University of London. And he utters the following words, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. I testify that Allah is one and Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is the messenger. They asked him, what made you make this conclusion? You know? And he said that he has been researching about sleeping and death, and that he found that there is a clear relationship between sleeping and death. And by judging by the brain activities, the brain becomes far less active during the sleeping time. And effectively, he's saying that sleeping, in his opinion, is the same as being called as a minor death. And he said that science now has proved that sleeping and passing away, sleeping and dying, are just two manifestations of the same thing. And we found that Islam is the most consistent with natural disposition. He found that this makes sense, this is right. Also, he was very comfortable with the fact that there can be only one creator, there cannot be two or three, otherwise of course they would be fighting with each other, and so on and so forth. And he said it is impossible that sallallahu alayhi wasallam 1400 years ago would have known the information that has been revealed now. He concludes from that the only rational explanation is that sallallahu alayhi wasallam, these things have been revealed to him. For that reason he said, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa anna Muhammad Rasulullah. While I was researching that, I was trying to find actually a lecture or a photograph for Professor Arthur Ellison. I found only, which is published in the poster that I made, a very poor resolution photograph. I mean, why is his story being hidden like this? And we hear stories about every footballer and their wives and how they argue with each other and what accidents they have and how many cars they crashes and what is the cost of their houses and what are the most expensive houses in England. But a huge man like that, the head of the electronic faculty of engineering, nobody hears about him, and it is suppressed, and there are no videos. Okay, we would understand that they would not, those who wish to obstruct Islam, we would understand that they would not promote that. Why are we not promoting it? And why is it that when he attended that seminar or that conference in 1985, why is it that people lost touch with each other? If it was me, I would be this man, I would make a website about him, and I will get him to do videos and interviews, and after interviews, books, all sorts of things. Every person that is sitting here, would have known. If I said Arthur, oh yeah, we know him. Tell us something different. You should be saying that. And instead of just seeing tiny little photograph somewhere there. Inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of His mercy, He gives us certain events as a rehearsal for what will happen in the Day of Judgment. Anyone who's gone to Hajj knows and felt that. When we go to Hajj and we stand on Arafah, you know, deep in your heart you know it. Although there is no book, the book doesn't tell you that. The Quran doesn't tell you that. You know in your heart this is a rehearsal for the Day of Judgment. Because we are all standing there, dressed in that little white sheet. There is no difference. There is no difference between a king and a pauper. There is no difference between a professor and somebody who gets the least wages possible. We are all standing there. We have nothing. And we are all gathered. And you think that the world evolves around you, and you feel that you realize that we are an individual is almost like an ant compared to this huge number of people. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of His mercy, and it's compulsory, you must go to Hajj. You must go to Hajj if you can. So you go there and say, Ya Allah, it's like somebody taking a bucket of cold water and throwing it in your face. Say, wake up. There will be a day that you will stand like that. Another rehearsal like this is sleeping. How many of us have ever had an unpleasant dream? Not necessarily a nightmare, but a dream that you don't like, but you cannot change it. How many of us have seen our eyes while we're asleep? Our eyes are closed. Do we see visions or not? Yes. But in dunya, the tool for seeing is our eyes. Our eyes now are closed. What are we seeing with? And the sleeping is very similar to the state of barzakh. State of barzakh is when we pass away and we put in the grave. And exactly the same as while we are sleeping. We see something that is pleasant and we are happy and we are delighted and seeing something. And you get up in the morning or you wake up and you feel refreshed and you're ready to go to the world. And sometimes the opposite is true. It's unpleasant and you want it to end and you cannot end it. And the barzakh will be exactly like that. The barzakh, the state of the barzakh where we are in the grave would be exactly like that. There will be some of us who are having a fantastic time. The state of the barzakh is either a portion of heaven or a portion of the other place. You know what it is. And if it is a portion of heaven, we are all in that state of the barzakh. We are happy, we are delighted, we are over the moon. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us amongst those first and not make us amongst those that are second. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله العظيم لي ولكم استغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم.